Do you remember your first time in an escape room? Cool, forget about it. Let me tell you about the Escape Memoirs series. Me personally, I've always been a fan of escape rooms, both in real life and video games. So when I first saw the game, I was a bit skeptical, due to my not so fun experiences with other games such as Escape Room Simulator and Obama. This game exceeded all my expectations. If you aren't a Harvard graduate, you might want to consider bringing along a friend to throw ideas onto a wall. Because puzzles in this game are insanely difficult. Like, I'm not even joking. Majority of my gameplay with my friends was this.
Eat orange, me eat orange, give me you.
The Escape Room Memoirs series has, as of now, 7 games. 2 free and 5 paid. If you're looking to crank that thinker of yours, this is the game for it. I've played through every single one of these games and can confidently say that I've never seen a collection of games with more complex puzzles and connections between them while still making sense to the player. It even tops majority of the escape rooms I've played in real life. And the most insane part of this is that according to the website of the developers, they have 2 people in their team. A programmer and a 3D artist, which is actually incredibly impressive. All the games have really difficult and unique puzzles. Obviously, sometimes you might have similar themes or mechanics, but in general, the games seem to have very unique puzzles that are not replicated. Just a warning that this is not a tutorial, I'm merely showcasing the game. Some parts are so confusing that even after finishing the game, I myself look back at some puzzles and just sit there like, huh? The gist of the game, you're a group of professional robbers, and there are 5 items within the house that will help you in a robbery. These items are left in safes that are locked by unique locks and puzzles. Obviously, you have to retrieve them. By the way, if you don't want to be spoiled about the puzzles, skip to this timestamp. Anyways, we began outside the house in the front yard and found the note. Notes are the only communicator with the characters within the world and the biggest hints to either find out what to do next or to solve a puzzle. The note gave us specific instructions, which were to water plants, feed birds, remove the clothes from the clothesline, and to check the mail. At first glance, it was just mundane tasks, and we couldn't figure out what exactly we needed to do. Yeah, we're stuck at the beginning, guys. Until eventually I looked under the mailbox to realize that there is a pattern on a piece of paper. Naturally, we checked the other mentioned spots in the note and found patterns there too. After that, we deduced that the order of the things we were supposed to do was the order of the padlock locking the front door. But the images did not match, until we realized that the images on the padlock were deconstructed versions of the ones on the papers. So we matched up those and got in. As you can see, there are a lot of connecting parts, and sometimes all it takes is one eureka moment to start a chain of events that leads to a solution. So after entering and letting my friends lag around, we obviously looked around, solved a couple of puzzles that I'll skip through, and then I was assigned this piece of something. A friend of mine found this data sheet before we entered the room, clearly meant for this machine. You can kinda see it from here. The bottom row of the machine had 2 letters attached to it, B and J, and the lamps had 2 numbers, 8 and 3. What's noticeable immediately is that they are not in order, meaning I most likely have to figure out which is which. I won't give you the answer, partially because I don't want to spoil it to you, and partially because I forgot. I will say this though, this puzzle did force me to take notes, and it is a really good sign when a puzzle is so complex that you're forced to take notes and think about it on paper. Some of the obvious positives are the fun and complex puzzles. I've only said that like 5 times by now. But the best part about these puzzles is that it occasionally involves getting information from multiple sources or requires you to understand a hint on a note. Sometimes the answer is even in plain sight. Even though this game is around $10, it does not feel like a typical cheap money grabber game that has no polish and hasn't seen any love. Even though this game can be optimized better, it doesn't really matter since you're not in there for the graphics. You're in there to get them wrinkles in your brains. Another fun feature about this game is the collectibles. They are placed in the most random places ever and in very crazy and unexpected angles, so finding them is quite a feat. They are a great way to add a little more spice to the game and give the player an option to wind down if they're stuck on a puzzle and look for some collectibles. That's what one of my friends did basically the entire game. I've mentioned the note feature before, but it is one of my favorite things in any type of escape room. Notes provide an insight into the lives of the characters of this world, and more often than not contain vital information to solve puzzles. It's really fun to read a note and then connect the dots with it and the puzzle you've been stuck on. If you've ever experienced that tiny eureka moment, you will know what I mean. Maybe it's what makes the house? I think it's like it's composed of Also, this game greatly improved on its co-op potential, whereas in previous games you would often have moments where there was only 1 or 2 puzzles to solve at a time, which would lead to people waiting or taking turns to solve a single puzzle. This game seems to have changed up by involving multiple puzzles in multiple rooms, allowing you to either tackle one room at a time or to split up and do whatever puzzles you feel comfortable with, which allows everyone to constantly be busy. They also added a shared inventory system, allowing everyone to see what everyone else has collected. And obviously the euphoria you get when completing the puzzle is unmatched. The 40 minutes you spend solving a puzzle, all cultivating in that one final click of the lock, feels amazing. Now let's move on to some little complaints that I have. I really don't know how to feel about the puzzle difficulty spread in these games, and what I mean by that is that some puzzles are either solvable with random chance or are simply easy, while others take way too long to crack and have no reward for solving the more difficult ones. For example, the last puzzle of the game felt nearly impossible to me and felt like by far the hardest puzzle I've ever solved. And then you have puzzles which are basically move me around until you figure it out. And lastly, I really recommend that you do not play this entire game in one sitting, because that's what we did, and it took us 6 hours to complete, and by the end of those 6 hours, our brains, or whatever was left of them, was absolutely turned into mush. But yeah, this game is genuinely really good, and if you want to challenge yourself, you should 100% try it. There isn't much to complain about, and you get what you paid for. And then some. Recommend me some games to discuss in the comments.